Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all fandoms, welcome to the Ferret Raccoon podcast, episode 90. I am Ace.
And I'm the younger raccoon.
And this is the first podcast of June. We've finally entered summer properly, I guess.
Although technically, for most English people, we've been in summer for a good few months now.
No, I disagree with this. Summer only happens in June, and that's it. The rest of the year is not summer.
Well, you'd think that. I mean, for anyone who maybe doesn't live in this country, but is currently in this country as of right now, the reason why people have been so almost up in arms, or the fact that heat has been such a talking point, is because usually it's raining.
Yeah, which I love.
And usually there is no sunshine, there is no heat. Except for maybe like 3 days in like August.
Yeah, exactly.
So for us to have so much heat so early in the year is kind of messing up the whole balance of this country. I mean, even just a couple months ago we had snow, and then 2 days later it was hot.
I hate it. I just want it to be consistently cold. God damn it.
Consistently anything. It's just all over the place. Even just this last week, that we're kind of finishing now that it's the 11th of June, we had so much rain, so much grey, so much cold, and now we're ending it off really hot.
I don't like the heat. I just want coldness for the rest of my life. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with it. But other than that, we're finally in the halfway point of the year, which is June. And obviously we're going to be talking about the significance of that. But before we do, we need to kind of check in on what we kind of did over the last few weeks or so. Ace, how many films have you watched?
Very few, actually. I'd say most of it's old stuff, and I wouldn't say many of it was good that I watched. So I don't actually have too much to talk about. I had a very busy, personal kind of life for the last 2 weeks. And mostly just been watching some shows, which one of them is so amazing and it's almost over. And it's like, why can you just end maybe a week sooner? So, could talk about it a little later. But that's Legion Season 2.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It's exceptional. This season is the best, and Season 1 was fine, it was good, but Season 2 is crazy awesome. I love it. I want more. And it's almost over.
It's a shame.
Yeah, but other than that, I had fun time going in the Sky Garden in London. Me and Raccoon both went. I actually only found out about it through him, and it was a very, very fun time.
Yeah, if you look up the Sky Garden in London or the Walkie Talkie Building, you'll kind of get an idea, because we just call it the Walkie Talkie Building. It's not actually called that. It's got some lame name. It's literally just the building on some street. It's like 53 something, but everyone just calls it the walkie-talkie because that's a little bit more interesting.
It looks like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, it looks like a walkie-talkie basically, or a phone at that. And we went to the Sky Gardens, which was nice. Nice to see the sights. Nice to see London overlooking Metzum. We had a chill time there. I
got to feel like a god looking down at the ants below me. It was a very fun time for me.
Something you say too often.
I like it when my ego is, helped.
It's like after you watch a really good anime series, you tend to speak down to a lot of people when they're watching series.
So nah, fuck you, shit. Watch my thing instead. Yeah,
I'm not too sure about that kind of mentality. I'm not sure how far it's gonna get you, but
I have a god complex.
Well, that's going to be very relevant to the discussion when I'm talking about something, but yeah. Well, that's good to hear. I had quite a busy couple weeks as well. Obviously, went to the Sky Garden as well. Had some fun there. Comic-Con happened, which was nice and relaxing for me for the most part. Managed to get a few things dealt with as well. I watched Satoshi Kon's Paprika.
Nice.
I'm going to say that because it's probably going to get remade in some kind of adaptation, and also Paprika is a common name, so if I just say Paprika, people are like, what?
Yeah.
But really good film. Really love the elements of almost terrorism and mystery, and a lot of the ideas and the very colourful and creative animation, the things the series presents about it. It's no wonder that Christopher Nolan used this as a basis for Inception.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can kind of, even if you watch the film, you can kind of see, almost in a sense, where he was inspired by. There's certain scenes and certain ideas and certain points where you can kind of go, oh, okay, he took A, B, and C and kind of started making his film from those scenes or those points, which I think is...
Those scenes incepted his brain.
You could say to some extent, because, yeah, it's not a rip-off. I've seen some people go, Paprika ripped off Inception.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, have a look at the dates.
Yeah, exactly.
Idiot. But yeah, I'd rather a adaptation of a Japanese animated film as opposed to a complete rip-off. But some people still don't learn. But if they want to learn the hard way, then fair dues and not getting my money. The other thing I watched, well, I've managed to actually finish off quite a few series as well. Finally finished off Violet Evergarden.
Nice.
I haven't been talking about Violet Evergarden a lot, and that's because I don't really want to spoil it for people because it is quite new. But essentially all I'm going to say is it's the one to beat.
Okay.
It really is the one to beat. The Netflix licensed series.
I think
a lot of people think that Netflix made it.
A lot of people forget that when they're talking about something that's good or bad.
Yeah, they commissioned it. It's not a Devil May Cry Baby is not a Netflix series. The DVD is coming out in like a few weeks' time. It was shown on TV.
Yeah.
There's no point you trying to jump on a bandwagon and go, oh man, Netflix got all these exclusives. It's like, they don't actually have a lot of exclusives. You do know that, don't you?
They've got good licensing deals.
If they have 1,000 shows, they've only really made like 300.
Yeah.
It's like that's how it goes. Like Violet Evergarden is really strong. It's probably, as I've maybe said, maybe not on air, it's probably the most boring series that's come out this year and is going to come out, but it's still probably one of the most well-made and well-crafted. It kind of feels like a weird anime movie. To some extent. You can clearly see there is points of clear cinematography, lighting. Like, the team behind this are treating this like a very cinematic experience, and they're taking it very seriously, and they are just fine crafting in every kind of way. Just really quickly, it's essentially about a girl, Violet, who comes out of the war after essentially being injured during the war, and she essentially kind of starts to rehabilitate herself back into society, becoming a writer of letters, I think it's an auto-memory doll is the official term, where they essentially write letters for certain people. And it's kind of interesting, the main reason she takes up this job is because the last thing she kind of remembers before she was in the before she kind of got put in the hospital during the war was that her major, her sergeant, kind of uttered the words "I love you," but she doesn't understand what they mean, so she kind of would like to know what they mean, and at the same time kind of just understand emotion in general, because she doesn't get it. She very much is a doll to some extent, and from there some interesting things happen, and it's a wonderful series, and like I said, it's the one to beat. It is really good. Let me see, another thing I managed to watch was, I'm gonna say it as its kind of second name only because for some reason I can't say its first name, and that's Aggressive Retsuko.
Agretzko.
I can't, for some reason I can't say Agretzko.
Yeah.
I don't know, my brain doesn't comprehend it for whatever reason. I watched it, the 2016 series.
The previous one.
Original series. Yeah. I watched all 100 episodes.
Really? Damn.
Yeah. They are, keep in mind, each episode is a minute long.
Okay, true. 100 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, but really good. I'm really interested in the actual animated series because I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Because from what I've heard, there's been a lot of cuts.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, because the original series has a ton of characters in it, lots. And it's a very simple premise. Eventually, you have like this red panda who's essentially working in this workplace and kind of having to deal with the stress of meeting the worst kinds of people and the worst kinds of situations. Every episode is kind of delving into that, and I think the way they handle it is quite great, where she kind of goes into some rage fit alter ego where she is just screaming like the lead singer of some kind of grunge heavy metal band about certain issues, and I think that kind of translates well, because essentially the series is, in one half it's kind of about, oh, just keep going, you can do it, but at the same time it's like, no, you actually really do need to vent and get this anger out, otherwise something bad will happen. And it's great, a lot of the aspects and a lot of the ideas you see. Some of the characters are absolutely the worst in this series. Like, there's characters which are unintentionally annoying, who are kind of her friends, and there's characters that are intentionally annoying.
Oh, right.
And you kind of have like this grey line where everyone's almost kind of on a scale.
Yeah.
If I was to say who's at the top of the line, it's certainly the Beaver character.
Right.
Who is the worst. Out of out of every single person throughout the whole series, she is the only person who never ever did at least one kind of redeeming thing.
I can't remember the Beaver character being in the modern one.
Well, she's probably not in it then.
Yeah.
I guess second would be her boss, who is literally a sexist pig.
Yeah.
And then the Gazelle character, who is absolutely the worst.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, she is absolutely terrible. But then obviously, and even so, I'm kind of going to see what they do with the character Zelda.
Yeah.
The Phoenix character. She's called Zelda in this.
Okay.
I believe they changed their name in the series.
I believe it's Fenico.
Fenico, yeah. She's kind of Retsuko's friend.
Yeah.
She kind of doesn't start out like that, but she kind of becomes her friend over the time. And the Hippo character as well, who's really annoying. Almost every character is annoying. And one character which I don't think is in the anime series is a character called Doug.
Doug? What animal is he?
I'm not actually sure. He's like some kind of like badger thing.
Can't remember him.
He's if I remember correctly, I read that he's not in it.
Okay.
And he's essentially Retsuko's like underling.
Ah.
She's essentially in charge of him, and what they do with his character is pretty great because he's essentially a paranoid, always rushing like character. He's always just kind of like, oh, I'll just do this, yes ma'am, he's just kind of freaking out. And it's kind of funny because in the series he does kind of have like a weird rage of fit like Retsuko, but it essentially comes out as him just panicking.
Yeah,
and
I
I
can't
think that
remember
was a great
him.
concept, which I'm kind of sad isn't in the series, but I guess the series, as far as I know,
second season maybe
they could reintroduce him, I guess, because I know quite a few characters got cut, and I can understand why, because I kind of understand what the focus of this ONV series is, and that's basically just love.
Yeah.
And love was essentially absent in the animated series except for another Red Panda character who was always daydreaming.
He's in this, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an interesting one.
Yeah, he is, even in the shorts, because I'm just like, what?
Does he like his canned drink in that one?
No.
No, okay.
There was another character, the cat character in the suit. I don't know if that character's there.
I can't remember them.
Yeah, there's like a weird like cat character who's kind of Ritsuko's friend.
Yeah.
She's kind of just always just hassling her.
Huh.
She's higher up in finance. The great thing about that series is all these characters I'm mentioning are probably in the series, but they could say the excuse of not even the background. They could just have the excuse of, well, she works in another division.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't work with Ritsuko, she just works in the company. So they could easily just bring him in and be like, yeah, well, she was always there.
Yeah. Is Best Boy Hyena in there?
Yeah, he's hardly in it, though.
Oh, no!
He is hardly in it.
He's my favourite character.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a character in that series.
Wow.
Yeah, some characters kind of appear and kind of don't appear for a while. Like, the snake character is, like, in, like, 3 episodes.
Okay.
And, quite a few of the characters are missing. Even the secretary bird character is kind of there, but then she's not.
Okay.
I just call her the leggy bird. She's just got legs for days. But some interesting stuff I did. Let's move on to like the Fortnite stuff, because it was quite a crazy last 2 weeks just in terms of everything that happened, and there was so much that happened that I think this podcast would kind of run over 3 hours if we talked about it all.
Yeah.
For the most part, it was a very eventful week for music, or kind of 2 weeks. We had Gorillaz returning, just out of the blue.
Yeah.
For a brand new album, dropping in 3 weeks, 2 weeks maybe.
Best way to announce it.
Yeah, I was just on Twitter, and it was just like, yeah, Damien's gonna be playing the new song from the new album, and I was like, what? And then there it was, and I was like, oh, okay. I was very happy, and it's definitely sounding very competent, but I was just like, whoa, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you also had like Bad Bad Not Good. They dropped a new song. No idea if there's going to be an album to that. Studio Killers as well came back, dropped a new song. No idea if there's an album. The Studio 88 Rising kind of dropping a weird collaborative album with all the people on their label. Midsummer Madness. It's got people like Joji, Rich Brian, Higher Brothers, August 08, which is a terrible name, and a lot of albums released as well. One of Tricks Point Never released his album. Father John Misty released his album, which is essentially addressing why people don't like pure comedy, which is a bit of a shame. And we obviously have Ghost's Prequel as well came out, and a few other albums, and I was just like, god damn, like, what the hell is going on this week? It's like everyone just released the music this week, and there's going to be nothing the week after. I won't be talking about music next week because there's nothing. And too many trailers.
Yeah, there's been quite a few.
way too many How to Train Your Dragon 3, which is saying it's going to be the last film, and that's kind of interesting. They say it's going to be the last film because if you look at their future endeavors, it's kind of like, wow, this really is going to be your last film, DreamWorks. It really is going to be your last film.
I'm gonna get Shrek 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
No, you're gonna get Trolls 2.
Oh no.
Boss Baby 2.
Give me Shrek 5 or give me Death.
No, you don't say that. And you got Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I'm looking forward to that.
Which looks okay. I mean, the animation style looks okay, but the story is kind of like, oh, okay.
I just love the art style.
I have a feeling that's all people are going to be saying when this film comes out.
But still, it's sometimes you're just there and you're like, I love the look.
I don't know what happened in the story, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the frame rate sucks, but yeah.
Yeah.
What is like the full trailer for Mortal Engines?
I haven't seen that yet.
Don't watch the trailer if you have any interest in watching the film because it spoils the whole film.
Really?
It really does.
Oh no, I hate that.
It really does.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious. Every beat is kind of like what's gonna happen in the film, and
that sucks.
It looks very generic. Like,
I just like the dumb idea of cities in the back of giant car shit. That's hilarious.
You probably ain't gonna like this film because from what the trailer is hinting, we are done with England being a moving city within 5 minutes. And it's more like, no, we got to stop the revolution, and the main villain's gonna shoot a beam into the sky.
Okay then.
Yeah, I wasn't really interested in this film, but when I saw that, I was like, oh no.
I'm gonna sneak in the back of the theatre.
I had Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2.
No, yeah, the otherwise dubbed Disney. Look at all this shit I own.
Look at everything we have. Yeah, this kind of looking a little bit more like a cluster. The scene with the princesses was funny, and
yeah,
I guess
but Cinderella's ears, they just look so off.
The problem is they're trying to adapt so many styles into one style, and it doesn't quite work.
Oh no, and Pocahontas looks so
Yeah,
white.
she looks the worst.
Like she looks like a really bad white person in like Native American dress up, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
No.
I wasn't. There was some funny scenes with that, and I was kind of Disney kind of poking fun at that, but it was like, you shouldn't really be doing that because you only have like one good princess there, and that's Penelope.
Mulan doesn't count, does it? Does she?
She does and she doesn't.
Okay, because I couldn't see her there when I was looking.
Well, when the remake comes out, she definitely won't be a princess. Princess Leia wasn't there.
Oh, I know the best princess.
The most badass princess.
Exactly.
And then we had the trailer for Halloween.
I actually like
2018, not to be confused with the one that came out before that, which was
by
like
Rob Zombie.
By Rob Zombie, or the other one that came out
1978.
after that, or the original
Halloween
one.
2, yeah.
Yeah, which was like, yeah.
Couldn't they just call it something like Halloween H40?
No, because everyone remembers Halloween.
Yeah. But it's like, this is supposed to be a sequel to the original one, and they just call it Halloween.
It's not. It's supposed to be a sequel to H2O.
It's a sequel to the first Halloween film.
No, I believe it's actually a sequel to H2O.
No, they literally said none of the other Halloween films count except for the first film.
So they remade H2O then?
Essentially, in a way.
So they're remaking two films, basically.
Kind of. It's like...
Get that rubbish out my face.
I'm interested, because there was a lot of nice shot composition in that trailer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Boo-er.
No, you said boo-earns. I heard you.
Boo. Anything else you want to talk about during the fortnight before we kind of...
Yeah, I just wanted to put a little memoriam thing to Anthony Bourdain.
Oh yeah, I was surprised that so many newspapers didn't actually pick up on that.
I know. I didn't have the time to watch any of his stuff, and I only know it through other people, through other people, and he seems like a very, very interesting man, and I am hopefully going to watch some of his stuff soon. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. But yeah, let's move on to our first story, which is kind of like a continuation, well, a follow-up to the last podcast where we talked about the Happytime murders, which is essentially the son of Jim Henson, raunchy buddy cop comedy puppet film.
With silly string jizz.
Yeah, where essentially Sesame Street tried to hold a lawsuit against the film creators based on the tagline, no Sesame, all street.
Yeah.
Which I think was a really lame tagline.
It's really tacky.
And I even thought, out of context, what does that even mean? If you've never heard of Sesame Street, what does that mean? Honestly, like, no seeds, but we're on a street.
Like, it's supposed to be, it's street, it's gangster, but then Sesame being a seed,
Yeah.
you want it to be seedy. Like, this is a seedy crime thriller.
But then you put seed, but then you use the phrase, and there's nothing seedy about the film.
Exactly.
It was kind of, I was actually really surprised that they were just like, no, it's fine, it's an accurate. I'm losing the distinguishing.
Yeah.
I couldn't even think. It's like it's not really that distinguishing.
No.
And I kind of wanted this lawsuit to pass just so they would change it because I think it's so bad.
Yeah.
Because I think they could do a lot better, as we're going to talk about in a bit, when you actually do good taglines. But yeah, it was kind of dumb. I don't know. I think the film's not going to go very far.
No, and again, just the potential it had, it's such a shame.
Oh yeah, if you go back and look at the original concept, it looked great.
Now we've just got this
very
mess.
Tame adult humor.
Yeah.
It is very tame, honestly. If you wanted to go all out, but they're not doing it here, because whoever thought it was a good idea to make it some raunchy adult comedy obviously didn't push far enough because he was scared of offending people.
I'm sorry, but if this wanted to be raunchy, there would be Muppet dicks and Muppet pussy. But there ain't none of that.
No, they're not allowed to do that because you have to remember the kids still have to see this film. Remember,
Exactly.
PG.
That's the raunchy stuff.
It's raunchy, but it has to be PG. Remember, the kids like Family Guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Get that shit out of here.
Out of here. Get out of my pub. Anyway, I believe you have appropriately the next story.
Yes. And one I'm very excited for being Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. The first Switch Pokemon game announced, which essentially being a kind of remake of Pokemon Yellow, mixed with some Pokemon Go mechanics, hence the Let's Go title.
I'd say Red and Blue, just given how this game kind of does look like a very Gen 1-ish game.
Yeah, well, that's why I said Yellow, because obviously Pikachu following you, and Pikachu's one of your starters in this.
Oh, so, Pikachu just ain't just following you.
Yeah, it's riding on your head. It's
on
amazing.
your head, on your arm.
It's so cute looking.
Pikachu, Eevee everywhere.
I know. I'm loving the idea of this, and even literally the fact of 2 people can play it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can just jump in, play alongside your friend.
Hey guys.
Exactly. And it looks cute, but my major issue is the catching mechanics. It's literally Pokemon Go's thing, like motion control, and you can't turn it off.
I am okay with that, only because you gotta kind of make use of the controller function, and I think would you rather have that, or literally you gotta download Pokemon Go on your phone and that's the only way you can play Pokemon Let's Go, which I would not want.
I'd rather just you press A and it throws a Pokeball.
Yeah, well, like I said, you gotta push the mechanics.
I think any of the movement mechanics in Nintendo stuff is garbage and should never be implemented.
Well, don't buy the Switch then.
I will buy the Switch and I will complain.
Or don't, because obviously going to go, well, people love these crazy mechanics. The next one is going to be a controller that's on your head.
I'll buy it second hand. From my friend at the back of the truck.
It doesn't really help. With his Splatoon amiibos.
And Rosalita amiibos.
Still trying to sell those. I think this is exactly what the Switch needed. I think just kind of getting more of the mascots on there. I think people have definitely been wanting another major Pokemon entry on a big system. I think it's definitely very safe, but at the same time, I think kind of keeping it in first generation territory will kind of bring back a lot of the old people who maybe fallen off.
And plus, Gen 1's still the best. So
Gen 1, is regarded as the best for a lot of people. It's very simple, it's very safe, it's very remember Pokemon.
Yeah.
They've thrown in the things like, kind of having the Pokemon by your side on your head, that kind of stuff back, which is something I always want.
Which
Eevee,
the last time they did that was Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which is still one of the best games.
One of the best remakes of all time.
I know.
Having Pikachu and Eevee just as the start in Pokemon is a great deal because they are quite fan popular.
Yep.
I do really like the cute design. You know, the characters definitely have a nice cute style. It's very colourful, very bright,
and
very friendly.
Eevee can wear a hat.
So
it's
can
amazing.
Pikachu, but Pikachu's always been wearing hats.
Eevee's cooler. Eevee can wear a hat.
There's a fine words right there.
If this was Fat Pikachu, I'd maybe consider it a fight. But it's Skinny Pikachu, so nah. He can go.
Hashtag skinny shaming.
Yes.
Like, geez.
Hashtag skinny chew shaming.
I think my only real worry is I'm worried that they're, even where you're kind of talking about the mechanics in terms of catching, I'm worried that a lot of the strategy might be taken away.
Yep.
Granted, we just saw one guy throw a Pokeball. There could be something a little bit more creative to that. There might be something where it's you got to clench the controller or something like that, or something that adds a little bit more strategy. And I'm kind of worried the battling might be a bit too easy, maybe because they're kind of, let's start new and easy from this point. But at the same time, I think there could be some surprises. Every time with these major releases, Pokemon has always thrown in something that's kind of unique or interesting, or something that definitely warrants a said remake or something like that. So it's definitely one to watch.
Definitely, it's an intriguing one.
Very much. One that's not so much intriguing would be Pokemon Quest, which is also kind of announced on the same day.
Yeah.
And that essentially being a mobile game, which is a shame because I think this cube-like chibi style is wasted here.
I think it is also on the Switch.
Is it?
Yeah, it's on both.
I thought it was just on mobile.
No, I'm pretty sure it's also on the Switch. Just grain of salt though, but I think it is.
Still, though, I think it had a lot more potential.
Yeah.
But I understand that kind of mentality because Pokemon and the mobile, that's a done deal. You have a massive audience there. For those of you not playing Pokemon Go, in Japan, they are still playing Pokemon Go like nothing ever changed.
I still see people playing it now. Sitting on a bus or something and they've got Pokemon Go on. It's cool.
But in Japan, it's
yeah.
Pokemon never went nowhere. Simply put, there was no drop-off point.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. But I mean, whatever with this one, I'm not really interested in it, but thought we'd mention it anyway.
Also, I have to say, apparently someone who was playing it, they hit a paywall so early in Pokemon Quest. It literally just you're going to have to wait a while or pay some money.
You have to wait 7 days.
Yeah. And it's that's horrible.
Yeah, that's something that's really kind of annoying. I mean, with Pokemon Go, it was a little bit the whole... You can get away with that a bit more because the whole point is you would be walking around, you'd be waiting anyway, so there was really no need for you to make any purchases because I think with that game, it kind of had the reverse effect where people were no, why would I pay money for this when I can actually just take a break from the game? I really need to. Or I just
want to walk.
Exactly, so that kind of worked in the reverse sense for them.
I'll just stop here, have a cider, and then continue.
So I guess this whole paywall with this game is kind of them going, wow, we didn't really make that much money from it.
Yeah.
So. But yeah. Anyway, I believe you have the first trailer, Ace, which you're going to talk about. Yeah,
so a trailer for an action film called Peppermint, starring Jennifer Garner in a serious role, ? For, she hasn't done that for a while. I think the last film I remember her in was that cat film. What was it with Kevin Spacey who turns into a cat?
9 Lives.
Yeah, that one. I think it was her in there. That was not a good film.
No, it wasn't.
The cats were funny and what's his face? Not Willem Dafoe, the other weird guy.
The other weird guy.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah, he was in it. He was great in that film. But essentially, Peppermint looks like it's essentially the Punisher, but woman.
Hey kids, did you like John Wick?
Yeah, John Wick 2. Yeah, essentially, her family gets killed.
Yeah.
And
by the cartel.
She goes 5 years training Batman style, and then comes back taking vengeance on the cartel.
I kind of like the idea of her going away and training and coming back to exact her revenge. I think that's kind of a neat idea because it's just I've been waiting for this moment.
But that's literally Batman. That's what he does.
To some extent. And I mean, it is a bit far-fetched, but I mean, depending on how they approach, even you kind of see some kind of attempts at comedy where it's oh man, how could one housewife go and do this? Or what's going on?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But we could see if it works out. I mean, they're really pushing the whole anti-hero angle with that, where I wouldn't be surprised if there's moments where people are going, "Oh, we pray to her. She's the savior of the city," and then she lights her name in fire.
Oh, Daredevil stuff.
Crow,
yeah.
Which got cancelled again.
Oh, really?
Yes. The 2 lead actors were gone, so that film really is cursed.
Good.
I wish they would have done something a little bit more interesting as opposed to just cartel gangster killed my family. But there hasn't really been a success since John Wick. No one's really done it.
Atomic Blonde tried and it had good action, but the overall thing was so bleh.
Red Sparrow tried and it failed.
Oh, you mean Black Widow?
Okay. Well, that film had Jennifer Lawrence in it, so it was already doomed.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you want your film to fail, just cast Jennifer Lawrence in it.
I'm remembering Passengers.
That comedy.
But I think my issue with the Peppermint trailer mostly was that, kind of like what you're saying for Mortal Engines, it just bit by bit was showing what's happening.
Yeah, it was kind of unfortunate but I guess that was an attempt to make it look more interesting instead of people going, "Oh, it's just like John Wick." And they go, no, it's not like John Wick because you see her family died and she wants to exact revenge. It's something that is very rarely done in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's not as if there was another film with another actress where some people broke into a house and tried to attack her family, and so she was like, "Hey, guess what? I'm actually highly trained and I'm actually going to get revenge on you guys for doing that."
Yeah.
It's a concept that has very rarely been done in Hollywood.
It's never happened.
I wanted to talk about this film because I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Also, I was surprised by the giant light going into the sky in the film. Caught me off guard.
Yeah, who knew the cartel had such power?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our next trailer, which is one that I actually wasn't suspecting the trailer for so soon, despite the fact the film comes out later, and that's the Lego Movie 2.
The second part.
The second part, which, interestingly enough, for some reason in some countries, it's just being called the Lego Movie 2.
Oh, weird.
A lot of countries aren't actually adding the second part section, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's a funny tagline.
It's a great tagline. I would have gone with another piece.
Yeah.
Or the next set.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame that we're not getting that. And I think even the tagline on the poster is "They come in pieces."
Oh, that's good.
Which I think is great. But I am so pleased that they're continuing from the end of the first film, essentially as everything's gone to hell, or basically Mad Max.
Yeah.
And you have this really nice contrast of desert-y, kind of post-apocalyptic ideas with bright and colourful googly eye aliens just attacking civilization. I think that's really strong, and I've not really seen anything like that except for an anime. But really digging that kind of starting point for the film. I think it's great.
I wasn't sure they could pull off an interesting thing after the first one. The first one was so good. It was can they keep that? It's I kind of think they can.
This is certainly promising.
Yeah.
And even with the main villain, I mean, if you know your Lego, you know who this might be. Basically, because it's a faceless person.
It's Bionicle.
No, it's not Bionicle.
When are they getting Bionicle in here, though?
I don't know. All I'm going to say is, let's just say this person is no friend of the main characters.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting, and I'm kind of liking the fact they didn't really spoil nothing. It seemed as though they remained within the first act of the film just for this trailer. There wasn't this crazy stuff happens at the end in the battle. We don't know what's happening in this film, and I think it's great. And I'm looking forward to possibly seeing some elements of space and other worlds. It seems like it's going in that kind of direction. I mean, Emmett's on his own, and you have this villain who's doing things. We're going to see hopefully her world and maybe some space travel. I think given that Lord and Miller only unfortunately just wrote the script, the rough draft of the script, it's someone else who's directing. The guy who did Trolls is directing this film, which isn't
it's not
promising.
No.
But let's just hope the script was so good that he doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
He also wrote Shrek Forever After as well. He also directed that.
That's more promising for me.
Of the Shrek films, it's the second worst, yeah.
I like to say the third best.
Shrek the third was the worst one. Then it goes the fourth. Then it goes the first. Then it goes the second.
Yeah. To be honest, that's pretty accurate.
How it goes.
Yeah.
Because you watch Shrek 1 and you're like, whoa, that was a good film. And you watch Shrek 2 and you throw away your copy of Shrek.
You're like, oh, they just got Shrek'd.
Burn that copy of Shrek 1. I don't care that my grandma got it for my birthday. It's rubbish compared to Shrek 2.
It's not an all-star.
No, it's not. But really interested in this film. Hopefully they can pull it off. It should be interesting. I don't know if it's going to be as creative or groundbreaking as it was, but it definitely seems like it's kind of going for the whole, this film is generic, isn't it? Very generic. Yeah. So let's see what happens with that. I can't wait. Yeah, a lot of animated films are definitely getting me pretty hyped for next year, because this year has been pretty abysmal in terms of films.
Yeah. Well, hopefully something that won't be abysmal. The film directed by Travis Knight, who was the director of Kubo and the Two Strings and is the lead animator at Laika Studios, is directing Bumblebee, the new Transformers film. And from the trailer, it actually looks like he cares about the project. I mean, Bumblebee's design doesn't look like a horrible mess of mechanical parts.
It doesn't look ugly.
Yeah, it looks like you could really cuddle it.
It's cartoony, and it's nice and rounded, and it's actually cute.
And the characters seem to have emotional, vulnerabilities and something they want.
The main character doesn't speak a lot, which is a bit of a shame, but maybe she doesn't need to.
Yeah,
it's all about the experience, man. It's all about the drive.
But yeah, it was shockingly quite a mellow trailer for that.
It was. It's trying to be a heartwarming comedy for the kids, and I do kind of like that aspect, but at the same time I'm like, where's that product placement? Just knowing how malicious Hasbro is, where they actually sued Paramount because there wasn't enough product placement.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow.
The main reason why we have so many... they actually... I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the fourth or the fifth one where Hasbro actually sued Paramount Studios because there wasn't enough product placement for the Transformers toys themselves.
Wow.
Because I think it was the fourth one that did very poorly in China.
Yeah.
Therefore, that translated in very poor kind of feedback from all the product placement from other outside sources and Hasbro themselves. So because what they essentially do, apparently from two of the writers of, I think, either the first or the second film, is essentially what happens is Hasbro kind of come in and they kind of push toys in on the desk and go, can you do something with this?
Oh.
That's kind of how they work.
Yeah.
So your ideas of them coming from a little bit more of an actual film actually caring about is very interesting, because that kind of makes me a little bit more paranoid to maybe go, they're going to shove something else in where they're going to go, hey, we've got the new toy range. Can you literally push across it? Can you do something with this?
I mean, hopefully the director and the team behind it, if they are being told to do that, they can do it in a way that works.
People have done it. Look at the My Little Pony series. It's basically to sell toys, and that has told some pretty interesting ideas and stories. It can be done. I mean, granted, that is still a bad practice in terms, but people have been inspired by fewer things to make greater things. I mean, just look at the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah. I
mean, that film was basically made out of one idea off literally no money, and look where it is.
It's one of my favourite films of all time. And that's what matters most.
I mean, I don't care too much about Bumblebee, but it is kind of interesting to see them kind of do something. I mean, I'm a bit confused as to whether this is a reboot or they're just ignoring everything. Is this the same Bumblebee?
I hope they're just ignoring everything and they're just it's Bumblebee. Everything else doesn't matter.
The one thing that did bother me was that Bumblebee almost killed her with that cassette. That was a bit concerning.
I think almost, it was just injecting it.
He ejected a disc so hard it made a dent in the wall. If that hit her face...
I think it was aiming at not at her face. Or maybe it didn't want to kill her because of the scene.
No, she ducked out of the way.
He wanted to kill her because of Rick Astley.
It's different if he shot it out and it rebounded and almost hit her. It shot out in her direction. And she ducked and she was like, outdated joke.
Yeah, Bumblebee just doesn't like Rick Astley.
Rick Astley is a cool guy.
Yeah.
But the song has it's outplayed.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, Rick Astley's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Go follow him on Twitter. He's a cool dude. But and I have the last trailer we're going to talk about before we get into a discussion, and I actually, is it Suspiria?
Yeah.
The reason I can't actually say the name of this trailer is because I have never actually heard of this film.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Ah.
But when I was watching this trailer, I could tell it was a remake of something.
Yeah.
Because it just reeked of references. It was holding on shots way too long. I was, do you remember this? And it was trying way too hard to be artsy, and I was like, okay, this has to be based off something. Like, they're spending way too much time on scenes and kind of trying to make a point about this film. So I was like, just typed it in and I was like, oh, it's based off a 1977 film. I was like, okay.
I've seen the original Suspiria, and I think it's a beautiful film with absolutely amazing music, but the actual film itself I don't really care about, even though everyone loves it, and I'm just like, I don't care much.
I've looked at images and I am in love with the cinematography and the design of it.
The original, trust me,
that horrid pink is just fantastic.
Yeah. The sound and like visuals of Suspiria is fantastic, and I'm hoping this can do something interesting with the story because I didn't.
Do you know who's doing the soundtrack for this film?
No, I don't.
Mr. Radiohead Tom York.
Really?
Yes.
I am fascinated now.
He is composing the soundtrack for this.
Alright, I was like okay with this film. I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to watch it. Now I'm watching it.
I'm interested in that soundtrack now.
Yeah.
Really interesting. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that they aren't kind of taking those kind of like very colourful aspects into this remake, and from what I've heard, because I don't know anything about this film, I've heard that they are taking some liberties with the story.
I'm fine with that.
Which I'm guessing in your sense is fine. Yeah. I don't really know. I can't really say. Or I'm just disappointed that it's kind of not really embracing that in a more interesting way. Like, I mean, you don't have to go all horrid pink with it. You could literally just like, I think even just with like, one of the characters has like a pink jumper on and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm interested in this. I don't know what's going to happen. I want to see the original first before I jump into this one. But it was really creepy and it was really unsettling and it was very well shot for whatever it's meant to be. Yeah. And I'm very interested. But yeah, I kind of wanted to mention this because it was like, oh, wow, someone's actually trying. Maybe.
Yeah. Sometimes you shouldn't just disregard remakes because sometimes they could be good, like Evil Dead remake.
The Thing.
Oh, all right. That's technically a prequel, and it's shit.
No, I'm talking about the John Carpenter's in 1992.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the 2011, 2009, whatever that one was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that film got destroyed because of like studio meddling.
Yeah.
Okay, if you actually look at, if you hate that film, go and actually, the company like quite recently released all the actual practical effects they actually made because last minute the studio said no, you got to use CGI. They legit use practical effects and they look horrible and great. Horrible in a good way, obviously.
That's really sad to hear.
Yeah, everything was a practical effect. Like people thought they were lying, they actually weren't. Like they actually did use practical effects. Just last minute they went, no, that doesn't look good. Yeah, so that film is not great, but I will give it a little bit more for what it could have been. But I'm still not going to say it's a good film. It's unfortunately pretty bad. But yeah, that brings us on to our discussion, which is aptly titled "The Best and the Worst of 2018 So Far." Mm-hmm. Now, 2018 has been a pretty interesting year so far, and I thought it'd be quite interesting for us to kind of look at some of the best things that happened this year that we feel, and some of the worst things, and kind of talk about those in very small detail. If you guys want to join in on this discussion, let us know of some of your best and worst so far this year. Hit us up at the email raccoonplusfriends@gmail.com. And the only two rules you need to keep in mind, which will be in the description, is that no more than 3 things on each side for best of worst, and also it has to be finished. Like, it has to be in a completed sense, because just to kind of be a little bit fairer. You know, I know sometimes things come out and, you know, you're in episode 9 of 10 and it's absolutely awful, but just so it's a little bit more complete, because you never know. Yeah. You might completely hate a series, but then you're like, oh, but that one episode was fantastic. So I am going to start off with my worst, and my worst is going to be something that very, 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 very recently came out, and it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I got to listen to this. I just got to know. It is an album, and it is from probably a pretty prolific person. That's going to be Kanye West. Yay.
Oh, no.
Now, I'll be honest. When you're dealing with arguably one of the most famous rappers in our current time, coming out with a very short, this album's only 24 minutes long.
Wow.
Very skeletal, somewhat experimental, and kind of personal album. In the world of rap music, that's a welcome change and a breath of fresh air compared to rappers talking about the same old thing, the same old rubbish that puts so many people off the genre. I mean, you just have to listen to any trap artist right now who's talking about the same rubbish. And compared to people like Jake and J. Cole, Kanye's actually doing something risky and different. you got to give him a point for that, at least. The reason why this album is under the worst list is because it's very unfinished, it's very rushed. It's essentially Kanye just trying to get his thoughts out, but at the same time, he's kind of failed and kind of rushed it because there was some potential here.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the problem is the album starts off with the song titled "I Thought About Killing You."
All right.
Which kind of has like this very kind of weird like wailing kind of sound, and Kanye West is kind of very much in spoken word kind of talking about "I've thought about killing you and I will do it," that kind of stuff. But the problem with this song in its context is that he's not serious because he doesn't mean it. When he says that he thinks slavery was a choice, he's being serious.
Yeah.
When he's saying he thought about killing someone, he's saying that for the album.
Yeah.
So that already doesn't work for me personally. And at the same time, I kind of don't find the idea of ever wanting to kill someone relatable.
Yeah.
That's not a fault. I get it. You're in a dark place. But at the same time, I've never been in that situation, so it's not relatable. Mm-hmm. So I can't get into that kind of headspace. And once again, like I said, I can't relate to that, especially when I unfortunately bring back all the things that Kanye West has said and gone, oh, he's dead serious about that. He ain't serious about this.
Yeah.
So that kind of...
There's a lack of sincerity.
There's a lack of sincerity and it doesn't hit me. It could have been like a dog album because there are points on the album where he is kind of just really just kind of almost as a mad person just kind of talking about these things and kind of going off the wall, and you're kind of like, I don't get what he's saying, but I get that he's crazy in that sense, and it's kind of just like, oh, okay, which is kind of interesting. I mean, you have also... I completely lost my train of thoughts. There is kind of a nice idea where there's a song where he is kind of talking about the concept of kind of shouting out all the ladies who stay with their man when they don't listen or they do something stupid. That's an interesting idea, but once again, when you listen to him talk about the people who stuck by him and then you remember his wife is Kim Kardashian, you kind of go, no, that doesn't really apply to you. And I found it very hard for him to kind of go, man, told those ladies who told you not to do that, but you did it, but they still stay by you. And I'm like, who are you talking about, Kanye? It's like, who is this woman? Kim Kardashian. I mean, do I have to put up the image of Kim Kardashian with Donald Trump? Do I have to put that image up? I hope I don't have to put the image up.
That was a horrible image.
That image sums up everything that's wrong with America right now.
Yeah.
And you can't deny that's what it actually is.
I wonder how long they spent just talking about their own TV ratings.
Or their relevancy.
Oh, yeah.
The song also kind of features some really lame instrumentals, and I think I keep completely losing my thought, and I think I've kind of made a mistake somewhere in my notes, but I basically continue. Basically, it features some really bad features and some really bad audio production with people like Kid Cudi, who is just awful singing, and he has so much effect on his singing, it's really bad, and then Party Next Door, which has like a chorus which is just very laughable.
Oh no.
And I'm just kind of like, oh dear. And I mean, the instrumentals are just very demo quality, and and I'm kind of gonna confirm why they are very rushed and very demo quality. And you can kind of tell he's thrown tons of effects to try and make it sound a little bit more experimental and kind of make it sound like a little bit more interesting, but it unfortunately just comes off as a trap artist first kind of like endeavors, essentially, which is a shame. The only high point on this album really is a rapper / singer called 070 Shake, which is a really bad name, and I don't understand that, who essentially stands out as this she has a very interesting singing voice, and she's kind of on the last song Violent Crimes, kind of doing the melody of the song and her singing really works very well. And I looked up this lady because she's a female rapper and she's basically been on nothing.
Damn.
And I really hope that if anything good comes of this album, it's that she gets pushed into more stardom, because she has a very interesting voice. She can clearly hold herself as a singer. And I kind of am appreciative of Kanye kind of going, hey, here's someone I found who's pretty cool. I'm going to put her on an album. That's one thing I do like about Kanye, is he may not know anything outside of the studio, but when he's in the studio, the guy is going in. Maybe not on this album, but something works, basically. And the kind of last thing I want to talk about is the album artwork for the album, which essentially is an image of the Jackson Hole Mountain, which is where the album was recorded. And it essentially has in green writing, "I hate being bipolar, it's awesome." There's no comma, so it literally just reads like that. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not.
I think it's... Yeah.
The interesting thing about this image is that it was taken on the 31st of May 2018, and the album Yay was released on the 1st of June.
Wow.
The photo was taken during Kanye West's listening party, which was held there, of the album.
Wow.
And it was taken on his iPhone.
That's
Just add some more salt into that wound right there.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of people who don't like Kanye West, unsurprisingly, you are not going to like this album. The kinds of things he is talking about and referencing on this album is not very interesting. If you don't care about Kanye West being diagnosed with an illness or talking about how he doesn't listen to people who don't make more money than him, you are not going to like this album. And I'm kind of glad that a lot of people don't like this album, because I thought I was one of the only people. It's getting some very mixed receptions, and I'm kind of glad, because it's not a great album. It is messy, and it is unfinished, and it is, of all things, it is unfocused. Kanye West can do much better than this, and it is a bad album, but it's also extremely disappointing, because there was a potential for a comeback after 2.5 really bad albums.
Yeah.
So for that matter, that's why I have to put it on my worst, because it is just lacking in, like, it's the potential. He could have redeemed himself and actually explained things and come out with things, but he's come out with this very rushed, very just stupid album, and he's kind of tried to... I kind of have theories that he's going to keep adding to the album like he did with Life of Pablo, because he's tried to say that there's ideas of slavery in this album, which I don't hear. So I really don't know what's going on with this album, and also I kind of think he's going to drop another album this year, if not add to this album, because I think the reception of this album has not been as big as he thought it was. And also, Gorillaz have a new album out, so why the fuck should I care? That's the only worst thing I have on my list, so I guess I'm going to pass it over to you, Ace.
Okay. So, I only really have one worst thing on my list as well, and that's because I think most of the things that I've done, even the stuff that I didn't enjoy too much, it was at least watchable. And my worst thing is Cloverfield Paradox.
Oh dear.
It was just a really massively boring slog that was sold to you as a Cloverfield film, and it wasn't.
It's a practice in Hollywood I don't want to see trending.
Yeah. And there's really not much I can say about it. It was really dull, really uninteresting.
I haven't seen the film, and I'm interested to see the film just to see how bad it was. I did kind of like the way, I think it was Mike or Jay of Relavent Media kind of described the film as it was basically like a circus.
Yeah.
Here, look, there's someone like this, and there's a guy who doesn't have his hand, and there's
someone in the wall.
Someone in the wall, and look at all these crazy things. And it's a very sad attempt to kind of fit into the Cloverfield universe, a universe that doesn't need to exist.
Like, literally, the most interesting thing is the last 5 seconds before the credits, because it's like, oh no, it's falling, giant monster, and just turn it off quickly.
I saw that and I was like, what are you doing?
That was the most interesting thing.
Why did you spend $1 million on that?
Exactly.
It's very clear they spent too much money on that, as if it's supposed to be like, check out it.
Cloverfield.
That's basically what it is. Oh gosh.
But yeah, that's my worst. I was thinking of putting like God of War on this, but I don't care enough.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that's
Fair
my
enough.
worst.
Hit us up with some of your favourites then, some of the best.
Okay, so all of my bests are TV shows.
Okay.
Because there's still a whole bunch of films I haven't seen, and all the games that I'm interested in, I'm getting soon. So one of them I'm literally getting today.
Yeah.
So yeah, think one of the first ones I'll talk about is Altered Carbon, being the kind of sci-fi, cyberpunk-ish, body-swapping TV show on Netflix, in which it really explores identity, especially through not only like appearance, but also your internal one and how you make friendship. It's weird in what it does, and it even examines AI in a way that you'd think everyone's already done, but it does it in a smarter way.
Okay.
So, very interesting, very distinctive, and I'm surprised that Elias Tufo, I think is his name, wasn't the main character, because his voice would have been perfect for it. But it's still good either way.
Okay. I don't know anything about this other than the fact that Netflix essentially assaulted my area with posters for that show.
Really?
Yeah, there was about 25 posters around my area of the show.
Damn.
Because I don't know what it is with the area I live in,
Yeah.
but essentially you can just kind of buy up the space if you
Wow.
want. It's kind of like that one point up at London Bridge.
Yeah.
Kind of like you can actually just buy up the space. Like if you ever go to where the IMAX cinema is and you look around the bus stop and just before the station, a lot of the time you'll actually see the same posters for one thing just in that one section because you can actually just buy it up.
Interesting. I actually know someone who owns a billboard, and they get so much money from it. It's
I would imagine. Yeah, that's a good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's good. I don't know anything about this series. I was just kind of like, oh, what did Netflix steal from Channel 4 now? That's just my thought. Whenever I see sci-fi and creative, it's like, what did you steal?
Yeah. But,
I feel like an adult talking to what did you do now?
And they just like stand there with their hands behind their back.
Look at me, please. Take your hands out of your pocket. What is altered carbon? What are you doing with that?
Yeah.
That doesn't belong to you.
My next best thing is Derry Girls, which is the I think it was BBC comedy about Irish schoolgirls in the 80s, and it's got a very in-betweeners style of comedy to it. That's excellent, and the accents are so amazing that I can't stop watching it.
Okay.
And it was only 6 episodes long, and I want more.
Were they an hour though?
No. I think they were only 20 minutes.
What?
Yeah. But it was so good, and I couldn't take my eyes off at all, because it was great. Give me more. I want season 2 next week. Put it on my desk then.
That's an order.
Yeah. And lastly, my favourite thing so far has been Devilman Crybaby.
Okay.
Because I think it's almost a perfect remix of all the previous Devilman shows in a way that makes it personal, with some amazing hip-hop in there, and just the art design's great, and the running.
Should have got the rappers from Devilman Crybaby to be on Kanye's new album. Jeez, man.
Yeah. And the best running in a while. Goddamn great. I love this.
I love how we have, not only this year have we got the best running, we also have the best laughing.
Yes. Yeah.
Coming from Agretzko.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
But yeah, those are my top 3 so far.
Okay.
I hope everyone enjoys them. You can watch 2 of them on Netflix, one on BBC iPlayer, I think. Might not still be on
Should
there.
hopefully still be on there. If not, it'll be on DVD very soon.
Yeah.
I only have 2 for my best of, and I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. The first one is going to be another album, and that's going to be Kali Uchis's Isolation, which is her debut studio album. I've been looking forward to her dropping some music for a while, and she finally has. And listening to the album, it's a very deceptive album for the most part, because it kind of comes across as a very, like, on the surface, a very typical singer album where, like, almost every song is going to be like a trendy way, or a song for this, a song for that, radio song. And it really isn't. It's actually very clever, and it's a lot more deeper than that, which I am really happy about. I mean, the album starts off with this very funky and also very, like, kind of almost like sexy kind of song being like Body Language. She's kind of creating this very fantasy kind of aspect about herself, and then immediately goes to the next song, Miami, which is kind of a bit of a bad bitch song, which she kind of talks about, like, kind of flying to Miami and kind of being all about the money, making all that. And I think, there are some great lines where she essentially, we have to find it right now, but there's, like, a great line where she essentially says how, like, she essentially writes a check for someone, and they look at her confused, expecting her to pay in sex.
Wow.
And she's like, no, I'm all about my checks, I'm all about my money.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. And then you kind of get the next song, Just a Stranger, featuring Steve Larry, who has, like, this, it's essentially about a girl who's pretty much all about the money.
Yeah.
And kind of describing this girl as being someone who, like, if the devil was asleep, she'd knock him wide awake. And he has, like, this great kind of very, like, kind of poppy, but kind of, like, nice chorus where he's kind of saying like she only wants my $100 bills, she don't want love. Meanwhile, you have Kelly kind of having this very sweet ad lib of her going dollar bills, which is
nice.
Which I think really works for that kind of style. And a lot of the other songs as well definitely take a very interesting approach. Like Dead to Me has like a very kind of almost danceable beat, where like, you know, it's literally kind of like you're dead to me, and like kind of like a very like kind of like hyped beat. We also have other songs like Flight 22, which kind of has like a very slow beat vibe, and a lot of other interludes which kind of have like very small like moments and instrumentals which are quite nice. And obviously we have the song After the Storm, which features Bootsy Collins and Tyler the Creator of all people, and a lot of it's very layered and different. I mean, even songs like In My Dreams, which features Damien Albarn.
Oh wow.
Technically Gorillaz are producers on this track, which is a very kind of poppy, happy-go-lucky song where like Callie is kind of essentially going, you know, in my dream, you know, kind of in a very like, oh, everything's so happy, it's fun, you know, it's great, you know. And I think with the very kind of poppy kind of piano, these, and even got Damien kind of, you know, kind of singing a little bit in there. Very surprised to hear him of all people.
Yeah.
And even the song kind of ends with a great, very short, unfortunately, song Killer, where essentially Kelly kind of talks about how someone kind of ending this relationship, what they did to her that essentially makes them a killer. Which is kind of an interesting way to do it. It's a very interesting album, because even just looking at some of the producers, we had like Thundercats on there, Soundwave is on there, Gorillaz, like I already mentioned, Bad Bad Not Good actually did the production for After the Storm, which kind of makes sense because Tyler the Creator has worked with Bad Bad Not Good before, and he's big fans of them. Definitely look up the two sets they did together, where Tyler the Creator just goes absolutely nuts over jazz like instrumentals where he's screaming about where's the cheese. So look at stuff like that, and you know, a lot of and Georgia Smith is on there as well. Never heard of Georgia Smith, but she, not to sound rude, she kind of sounds like a very young Barbadian Rihanna, which was quite interesting to kind of hear a voice like that work on the song. I believe she is on the song Tyrant.
Okay.
You see, she has a great line where she kind of talks about, don't think you can lie to me, I can see through your mind. You know, which is pretty funny. So that's a really good album. Definitely a shock, I think, because you look at because essentially, although the album's called Isolation, it really should have been called The American Dream. Because essentially this album is the American Dream. Both in context and just looking at Callie as a Colombian like female singer who literally just flew to America, worked with every single person possible to get to this point, and achieved her goal of being a singer. Essentially, it essentially is the American Dream, and she does reference it quite a few times, which I do like that aspect of. And even the album cover, which has her kind of posing all sexually with like the it's very classic, very American, like this is her debut album. It's definitely an album that you might not go, oh, I don't know what Raccoon's talking about on the first listen, but the second listen you'd be like, okay, I'm hearing the technicals, I'm hearing the craft. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite albums so far this year. Definitely really replayable. The other thing I want to talk about, the last thing, is going to be a anime called A Place Further Than the Universe. Finally finished this series, and you look at you don't have to look at the poster of this or watch the opening, and you're like, oh, typical gal or cute girls doing cute things anime. You know, I mean, the plot is about 4 girls essentially wanting to go to Antarctica for different reasons, and you're kind of going, oh, okay, I know what this is going to be. And you go to talk to her, they do cute things. No. For starters, most of the series isn't even in Antarctica. It's mostly about them getting to Antarctica. I'm not going to say at what point they get to Antarctica, but there's going to be a point when you're maybe halfway through the series and you're like, damn, we ain't even at the boat yet.
When are we getting to the fireworks factory?
Simply... basically, because I mean, it essentially portrays planning a trip very accurately. There's the stress and the training and the paranoia and the doubt if it's even going to happen. And that's great because you don't see a lot of series do that. But what the series really works on is making sure the characters are very likable and very weird at the same time. I mean, one of the main characters, Soraya, who's essentially she's a bit of a cow when she's kind of confronted with people. She's very determined. She's like, no, I am going to talk to you. You ain't stopping me. I don't care what none of them say. But at the same time, put her on camera, or if she sees Penguin, she just turns into an emotional wreck.
That's brilliant.
Or you have Meira. Is it Meira? I think I've made a mistake. Mari. I think that's how you spell her name.
Okay.
Who is basically Moko from Kill la Kill.
Okay.
She's basically Moko from Kill la Kill, except less crazy.
Well, then that's my favourite character I've already decided.
She's most people's favourite character. Yeah. She literally looks and acts like her. The voice is very similar, so I think it's literally just a reference to her. She's great, and every character kind of has a nice element to the way they are. And I mean, even for a series, as I've said, they're not in Antarctica for most of the series, but the pacing is very well done, and they definitely make it very funny because you are essentially following these oddballs just trying to make things done. But you do have some really nice points where they're kind of like, training and kind of just on the ship, and even when they're in Antarctica, it is very interesting, and it's a rather emotional series as well. I mean, it really is about like the chemistry and how strong their friendship is over time, and it definitely works out perfectly given from where they start to where it ends. And I have to say, the actual ending, the very last bit of the series, is perfect.
Okay.
Where they end it was just like, oh, it all came together. And it's so perfect. And I was so happy about that.
I've been very interested in this series, and it's one that's on my list to watch.
It needs to be on everyone's list. It's like, weirdly, like, third highest rated anime of the year so far. Next to like Steins Gate Zero and... I forget what the other thing is.
I'm not sure.
It might be Devilman Crybaby, but I think Devilman Crybaby is kind of sitting at 8. This is sitting at 9.
Yeah.
Not that numbers really matter,
no.
But just to help more people go and see the series. I think too many people see Gal animes and they go, that looks like rubbish, but this is one of them that's actually good.
Yeah.
Definitely give it a try if you've never watched one of those, because this one actually is really good. It's kind of like a weird anime of animes, where you have to watch some good animes to understand that anime can actually be good.
Yeah.
That's basically what the series is. It's actually a good anime among very generic stuff. Digibro would probably like this anime.
He probably would, but he'd like it for a much creepier reason.
There's no lollies in this series.
He'd still find it somehow.
Oh, and they're underage, but they're all like 16.
Yeah, that he's done.
Which kind of reminds me, there's a nice kind of like hint that you see for just a few seconds where on the dorm on the ship it says, "It's college girls, you got to knock."
Which
I thought was
good.
Quite funny, but then
but
then the other women just barge in anyway.
Of course.
But yeah, some good stuff so far this year. There's too much. We could have talked about hours upon stuff, and we probably will do that at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we've kind of talked enough and tried to be as fast as possible. Last thing to talk about is the video of the episode, and that is, of course, going to be Gorillaz with Humility.
Yeah.
Such a well-made music video in terms of blending animation and live action. Way better. Like, oh my goodness, and the song is pretty great too. Everything that's going on with the Gorillaz right now is pretty damn crazy.
Very interesting.
We have one of the main lead singers is in prison, and he's temporarily been replaced by Ace from the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
Which is like, this is happening, guys. It's happening.
It's the most ambitious crossover event in history.
Yeah, it could kind of be said like that. Honestly, I did see a very funny comment where someone said, the Powerpuff Girls reboot is doing so bad, one of the main villains left to join a band.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And I was like, unfortunately, that's probably true, because they don't do nothing with that character in the reboot. They're too busy working on some very suspect and very creepy main villains. Look that up.
Okay.
But yeah, anything else you want to add to this podcast? Although I know there is one thing we are forgetting to mention.
Yeah, there was one thing, so I remembered it. They released the beta for Pokemon Gold and Silver got leaked.
Oh yeah.
And the Pokemon was so adorable, and I was so happy and obsessed over it for days.
Years of fan art right there.
Yeah. And I'm so happy with it, because I love seeing concept art for stuff that didn't get put in the final stuff.
It's always good. I don't know why more people don't release that. You only have to like speak to one like publishing company and they'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, it's not that hard. People will buy it. All you have to say is Zelda, and people, I'm buying that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to get the special edition of Devilman Crybaby that comes with the 2 art books. But all you got to do is just put Devilman Crybaby and the people buy it.
Yeah.
I want it, and I don't even really like Devilman Crybaby, and I want that box set. I want that artwork, and I want that series. And for the record, when I say I don't really like it, I mean I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a masterpiece or some kind of revolutionary breakthrough, as some people are saying.
Yeah.
And no, I don't believe the two main characters were a gay couple. You guys can stop that now.
Okay. I fair enough. People weird.
Girls are weird.
They're always... People can't have bromances anymore.
No, because... Yeah, no. One other thing we are missing, the next podcast is not going to be podcast 91. It is actually going to be the E3 special.
Yeah.
E3 is happening as we record, as this podcast goes up, and damn if I am ever, we will be doing a special on that. It's going to be crazy. I can promise you that. I don't know who's going to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Things are so crazy this week, I don't even know if I'm going to be on the podcast.
At the moment, I am live tweeting what's happening, so you can find all of that on @the Ace Enigma. It's THE capital ACE capital ENIGMA.
And if you want to appreciate the anime titties, you can follow me at The Angry Raccoon. That's only one C in Raccoon. I don't actually repost the titties. Sometimes the characters I repost in the artwork, they don't have tops on, but at the same time, I'm not going, oh man.
Exactly.
It's
Sometimes
actually artistry.
You can just free the nipple. It's fine.
Free nipple, just a little peek. To
Hashtag.
the side. That looks.
Oh
like
no! Hashtag just a peek. That's horrible.
Side boob. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But we'll see. No, I just post artwork, and I'm always kind of about my animation and my film and stuff like that. So, yeah, follow me on those. If you have any other questions you would like to throw at us, especially even for the E3 podcast as well, that kind of applies as well. That's raccoonplusfriends.gmail.com. Everything that we've talked about, kind of except for the things we've mentioned on our list, because I don't think we'll be able to. I can't exactly link you to an album.
Yeah.
Maybe a song. I don't really want to link you to anything to do with Kanye West. I might just link you to an image of the album artwork.
Just link an image to like him pulling a stupid face instead.
That could be the thumbnail.
Yeah.
No, but then again, that would ruin it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find everything in the description and the download link. Anything else before we wrap this podcast up?
I think that's all.
Okay, well, I guess we will hopefully see you guys on the E3 special. Even if you aren't gamers, it'll be awesome if you come join us to talk about things. We'll put all the trailers and that.
You can hear all my pretentious opinions, and they're always right.
kind of contradicted yourself there.
Never. I'm consistent.
Okay, I see we're getting nowhere. I was the Angry Raccoon.
I'm Ace.
And we will see you on the E3 special and the next podcast.